Hello, how are we doing? I just wanted to do a quick update, just kind of celebrate some stuff. I've known about this study, but I've yet to dive into it. And like I knew of its existence, looked, and I haven't always found it. And today I found it. I mean, I've cited it, but this is the first time for me really diving into it. And so, if you guys can see this, please let me know. Welcome. And I want to kind of touch base, see how everybody's doing, do a check in. I want to talk about a couple Measure 114 things. And also, I want to dive into, this study. This study is a very, very important study because it supports everything we've been saying all along. Are these guns that we have are in common use? They're, obviously this is really, really bad for them. Okay. If we look at the numbers, right, we look at 44 million estimated semi-automatic rifles in this country. Yet the crime rate says that these rifles are, definitely they commit about 400 to 600 deaths per year, which obviously we don't see anybody die. So I don't want to make any light of that situation, but the problem is we got 44 million rifles in this country, and only 600 people are dying out on average. So that really skews their numbers in a negative way, and so that's the one thing is they use numbers. They cite these studies, they do all this stuff to misinform the public. They have the media that picks up the narrative and runs with it. It becomes the gospel. Law enforcement cites it, all these other things, but at the end of the day, it's not real. It's a house of cards that's built on a foundation of lies. And so if you guys can hear this, please let me know. Thanks for tuning in. And so I've been doing a lot of work, and so that's where I've kind of been quiet. But I'm having fun, and so I want to just kind of get on here. I'm going to share this screen because I want to talk about this, and I hope you guys can see this. Please let me know if you can. And here we go. I'm trying to share my screen. Give me 1 second. Um, Give me 1 second. This is what I want to highlight. Here we are. Give me 1 second. I'm pulling it up right now. I'm using technology to my advantage. So we got this study. Okay. So I originally heard this study last year when I was at GRPC. It was talking about Bill English, Georgetown University. So he did one of the most in-depth studies in the history of firearms ownership. And so, this is something the other side has done a good job to really kind of keep hidden, and they've tried really well to discredit his work because the numbers totally destroy their arguments. And so that's why, I finally found it, came across it kind of an abnormal way. And so that's why I'm bringing it up. I'm going to pin it in the group. So now we have a resource. Now we have talking points that we can create talking points off of this study. They want to say these rifles, because what they're getting ready to do is they're getting ready to come after the rifles. And they are, it's another thing. It's what they do. It's all smoke and mirrors. It's how they get that emotional reaction for us as they come after our rifles. And so with this, I think it's just important to know that actually it's not letting me scroll. Interesting. Okay, so I'm having issues there. So you guys see this, please let me know. I might just X out of it and do it a little bit differently. But one thing I want on your radar is the way they are going to be using this information. We could use this to our advantage as well, right? If we have, what our side does really, really well is we love, facts, we love data, we love logic, because that's what defeats emotional type arguments. And so with this study, this is a great thing. You could dive into it, you can nerd out on it like I have been doing, and you can kind of build your own little talking points that you could use to educate those that don't like your guns or want to take away your guns. And so the fact that there's 44 million estimated rifles in this country and less than 600 people die per year, it's 400 to 600 on average. That kind of deflates. So that's less than 1% I mean, I would have to, I'm not a math major, so I'd probably have to get somebody to do the math on that. But it dramatically lowers the amount of people that are hurt with these rifles, right? And so it lowers the data, improves our position, right? So we have to be in a position where we can, exploit the argument here and kind of influence it in a way that we need it to go. And so, that's kind of where I'm going. My thought process here, and that's why I want to kind of talk about it is, this is stuff that we can do today. I'm gonna go ahead and stop sharing my screen. It's not. I thought I was going to be able to scroll, and that way we could talk about the data, because there's some really good important data here. And so it's really really important to know is understanding how the data is used against us, and so that's where we gotta be pay attention to this stuff. This stuff is something that we could use definitely to our advantage, and that's what we want to do is we want to be able to spin this in a positive for us, right? And so we can take bits and pieces of this, and we can come up with memes are a great way to share information. We can do infographs. There's all these different things that we can do where we can start dropping information out. I did see something about a new bill in the Oregon legislature that has me concerned when it comes in the short session. And I got that on Sunday night. I'm still looking at, what what our course of action is and how we want to approach it. And it deals with suicide and gun control. And so, that's something where they're going to try to use, I would imagine, red flags. I haven't seen the language. This is just an abbreviated conversation that I had. I'm bringing it up for conversation, but I want something you guys to kind of have on your radar. So, what they're going to try to do is use the suicide prevention as another way to restrict your rights. So, they're not going to stop. They're going to lose in Harney County. That's what's going to happen. Measure 114 is going to die over there in Burns, Oregon, which it should have died. It should have never been on the ballot. That's this is my prediction. And obviously this hasn't happened yet. If I have to eat these words, then I'll eat these words. But this is just the way I'm seeing the information and everything that like I see in the media, stuff that I'm kind of getting. Nothing's official yet in the legislature, but all this stuff are kind of the interminglings and the rumors that I'm seeing. And I try to be careful with rumors here. And so I'll try to explain it in a way where it's not really a rumor. I just want it on your radar so we can pay attention to it, so we're ahead of it. And so that's kind of what I'm thinking here is just talk about these things. And so if you guys can see me, I'm not getting any comments for some reason. I don't know if you guys are not interested or if it's just not coming through. So if you guys can see this, please let me know. I'm still, I got the tech updated. I got Starlink. I thought that was going to be my savior, and it's satellites, and so it's not the greatest. And I thought it was going to be better, and it's kind of let me down. But it's better than Comcast, so that's what I'm trying to do. So hey, Jeremy, thanks for tuning in. I appreciate it. And so, hey, Anthony, I hope you're doing well, brother. And so this is some of the stuff that I'm concerned about. And so the things that I want to be able to push back on this stuff is, hey, you're on YouTube. Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate it. And so the goal is to kind of paint this picture where we can use this information to our advantage. This is really in depth. This is good stuff. The best would be to kind of go through this and figure out really, really important talking points that we can use to our advantage. And so this is a way, we can develop these talking points now in the off season when, then when the legislature goes into effect and they're in session, we're going to be armed with these talking points. We can cite the source. We have the source right here. This is going to be a great resource along with all the other ones that we have, where we can put this stuff together and we can start, putting it in those inboxes, a way for us to, hopefully empower the Republicans that are going to hopefully do something. And I say hopefully is they're not going to walk. I mean, if they walk out, they're going to stay gone. You know what I mean? If that ever happens again. And so, we have to embolden and empower the Republicans to do the right thing, right? And that's to help support and defend our rights. And the stuff that I shared the other night, I wasn't 100%. I was like lukewarm on what I saw from them. And this is all old, tired, talking points. And so I want to be very, very clear going into the next session. We're not going to have a lot of time. We might have 30 days or 35 days, working days in the short session. And so we are going to have to be on top of our game. We're going to have to make sure that we're sending emails. I'm going to try to make it as easy. I thought I was going to be able to do it a certain way. I'm having issues getting everybody assigned a number. And so, because what I want to do is obviously assign everybody. This is something that I've been working on behind the scenes, is assigning everybody in the group a number. So everybody that's here has a corresponding number, and then I can use technology to create these emails that all you would do is you would scroll through a Google Doc, you would find your number that corresponds with this email that's already been written, and you just copy and paste that. You put that in the body of an email. You add who you're going to send it to. You add your name and you say thank you for your time and your name at the end of the email, and then you send it off. It would take you literally a minute or 2 minutes to be able to send an email that's already been crafted for you, to make this very, very easy and very, very effective. I want to put 10,000 emails into these people's inboxes. That's my goal. And so the way we do that is we have to work together and say, okay, we're going to use this technology. We're going to use AI. We're going to do all these things, right? They're going to make our lives so much easier because we're going to be able to be part of this process. Our voice is going to be heard, and we're going to be able to use technology the way others use technology. And that's the goal here. And that's another thing is when we're crafting these emails, is we could definitely make sure that we can add these stats into these emails. Okay. So that's where we have these little talking points that we can actually use and weaponize against them. Okay. One thing they do really, really good is they use imagery. They use messaging very, very well. They used the stories of parents that lost children as a way to take away your rights. I got 3 of them today from Moms Demand Action. I decided I was going to save you guys the heartache by reading these emails, and so I just decided not to put it in the group. But just know, we look at what they did last week, where they had the emails that I put into the group. They didn't get the response that they're looking for, right? They didn't get the donations. They didn't get all this stuff, right? You got to look at it from the big picture here, okay? So the reason, and then so they changed their tactics. So that they everything they're doing is like throwing spaghetti at the wall. And so if it sticks, then they're going to double down on it. Since that didn't stick last week, and I put them in the group, I forget the topic. I see so many of them, so I kind of glaze over them. The thing is if that didn't work, because that didn't bring in either it didn't get the crowd response, it got too many bounces, didn't get the donations that they're seeking, what they'll do is then they'll spin, and then they say, oh, we have parents that lost a child, and so now we're going to exploit that. And then they drop that today. And so I got 3 emails from different email accounts from them saying, I'm the parent. This will never bring my child back. I get it. I'm sorry. My heart goes out to the people that lost children, because I work very, very hard to protect children. And it's not it's not a laughing matter for me. But the problem is the way it's used against us. And this is very much a wedge issue. And if you guys aren't familiar with a wedge issue, probably the easiest way for me to explain it is an issue that is something that's put in between 2 parties to create a divide. It creates division. It puts people in smaller boxes. When they're in smaller boxes, they're easier to control. Okay. So that's what a wedge issue is. This is what this is. And so what they're trying to do is they are trying to, they use the fear and the emotion. What they do is they put it in there, right? And with this wedge, what they do is if you don't agree with this messaging, you must want dead children. You must want people to die. You don't have any solutions, so this is what they do. And so this is where we have to understand what we're up against, right? And if we're looking 2 years, 5 years, 10 years down the line, I truly feel that we are in a good spot. And I feel from all the rulings that we've gotten as of late, as Americans, we are in really good shape. As long okay, the caveats here though are keeping the Supreme Court. So that means the next election cycle, 2024, is going to be really the most important election of our lifetime, because we have to protect the Supreme Court. That's our stopgap measure right there. Is the Supreme Court, and so we can lose all these skirmishes along the way as long as we can keep the layout of the court currently as it is. So that's something that we really need to be focused on, is making sure that we know who the candidate is. The candidate that's running for office can win, and we support that candidate. We make sure that candidate wins. That's what we have to do. And so I appreciate you guys tuning in. I'm just doing stuff. I'm killing time. I've got all this other stuff that I'm working on for the end of the year for the stuff that I do, and I just want to kind of check in with you guys, see how you guys were doing, and just kind of celebrate this. I mean, this is a good thing. I mean, I've seen this. I've seen inklings of this study. I had a hard time tracking it down for some reason because it was kind of cryptic the way I had to find it, and so when I started reading, I was like, it's right there, like amazing. It was like there was harps playing because it was so amazing. 44 million rifles, 542 million estimated magazines that hold over 10 rounds. Okay. So the argument for Measure 114 is that these magazines were not in common use. There's not that many available. They're definitely not used in self-defense purposes very often. So this is why we have the right to restrict those as the state of Oregon. And so, my argument from day one, and my argument on the stand and everything, like, it's not how many I may need, it's how many I want. You know what I mean? So, like, if I get it done with one round, then I get it done with one round. But if I need 15 to 17 or 30, like, I still need that capability, and I need that ability. And there's a lot of people out there, depending on your situation, you need the ability to be able to defend yourself and your families, and one's not going to do it. Two's not going to do it. It could be, we're seeing stuff all the time from all over the country where people are kicking in doors, and, people are getting hurt, and violence is way up, and actually I'm seeing conflicting things. I think the reporting of violence is up, but I'm seeing numbers, and I'm obviously I'm not going to quote them, because I don't have it verified, and this is just me speaking with you guys. But it seems to me like there might be either we're at the top of the hill or on the way down when it comes to the violence, right? Fortunately, knock on wood, knock on wood. But just something to be aware of. There's just so much information out there. And it's so hard to find really good information that's factual. That's why when I see stuff like this stuff excites me. I'm going to bookmark it on my phone. I save it on my computer. And now when it's time, I'm going to cross-reference it. I'm going to chop it up. I'm going to make little info. I mean, I could start doing that right now, to be honest with you. I could make little quotes and put them on here and drop them into the group if it would help people. Just because I'm a little bit faster at it than people, some people are, just because I know what I'm looking for. And so if that's something that would interest are doing that, I could actually create a resource guide, and then I'll make it all colorful like they would do. And what I'll do, okay, that's add it to my list. Add it to my list of things to do. But what I'll do is I'll start, putting this information together, right? I saw that 40% of Oregonians own firearms, so that's a good statistic. I have to look at our demographic. There's a lot of people leaving the state, and so I don't know what the actual population of the state. Pretty soon, we're going to get to a point where if we're losing that much population, we could lose a Senate seat or a congressional district. So it's maybe something to think about there. Maybe that would be beneficial. Is another state, like a red state like Florida or Texas, might pick up a district if we lose them, like what happened in California. They lost a couple districts, so just a lot to think about. So, maybe that's something that I'll see if I have some time that I can kind of just go through it, and it doesn't take me very long, and I'll just, copy and paste it, put it in here. And these are little talking points. So maybe I'll I'll have a little file that says talking points, and you guys can just go there, you find one, you screenshot it, or you save the image, and then you guys can share it. You guys are off to the races. And so, whatever I can do to use my experience to help this situation to make it easier for you guys, that is a win. And that's the way I look at it. We're all on the same team, and I want to win, but I can't win by just me, and I need you guys. And so whatever I can do to help you guys, I'll make sure that I do it. We're going to have some good training opportunities coming up when it comes to what we're doing with the session. So I'll keep everybody posted on that. I'm watching. I'm waiting patiently. I've been talking to Anthony, and we're still waiting to figure out. I'm kind of waiting to figure out what's going to happen in Harney County. And so we're getting close. It's been, beginning in November, or I guess 60 days would be about November 18th, so that would be the 60 days, and I know the judge he's got a lot on his plate. So he's being thorough, and he's doing his due diligence. And so I appreciate that, but I am starting to see a little bit of chatter. I saw in other groups where people are like, what's happening with Measure 114? Well, nothing's changed. And so I want to kind of talk about that is, the queue is way down. So if you're going to go buy a firearm, you can do that. Obviously spend your money locally, support those local shops that need your help. You can still buy your magazines, no big deal. You can still build a firearm, completely legal. If you're going to do it. So 2005, that's a big issue. I think that needs to be, that's like the elephant in the room is what are we going to do about that? What lawsuit are we going to file, and when we're going to do that? Because that's something that we really should be looking at. In the way I view that, I feel that we have to go into federal court, unfortunately, just because of the way it was written, and the way the ruling sits at the federal level. So that's why I feel that we couldn't get away with doing a state trial like what we did with Measure 114. So that's going to add costs. So this is, it's a huge expense. Like, lawsuits are not cheap. And so that's where, we got to spend our money, responsibly and efficiently and effectively, and it's, some of the stuff like 554, that's the secure storage bill. That would be an easy slam dunk because of the Heller decision. So there's all these things. If we had a couple $1 million, if you have a rich uncle has a couple $1 million that wants to gift Oregonians to take some of their rights back, that we really could do that. And so, but it takes money to do so. And so that's where, so if you have any rich uncles that want to leave us, a trust fund or anything like that, so we can fight legislative, overreach through the courts, that would be amazing. So, but I don't have a rich uncle, so I'm just putting it out for conversation. So other than that, how we looking? How we doing? Any questions, comments, concerns? I appreciate you guys tuning in. I hope it's Tuesday, right? Yeah, it's Tuesday. So my days are kind of running together. It's been a long couple weeks. So I hope everybody's doing good. So this one right here. Yeah. So that the whole point is just put either testimony into the system for OLIS, or, mass emails that are different, that way they can't say that they're spam, and just put them in their inboxes and make sure that they have to either respond to those, or at least know that we're paying attention. They think that all we do is sleep and go to work and pay taxes and don't care. We don't show up at the Capitol building. In a short session, we're going to have to plan about that as well. We're going to have to plan on being up there. Okay. Depending on, what they're going on. I did ask about, my contact about what, if they've heard anything about Measure 114 being packaged in a different form. And they said nothing as of yet, but don't put it past Prozansky. Okay. Prozansky, he is a crafty little devil, and he is definitely one that we have to be aware of. We have to hold him accountable. We have to be in his face, and in his face, what I mean is blowing up his email, calling his office, scheduling appointments in his office, Let him know that this is really, really important stuff to you, and we're done. We're done throwing money away on bad litigation. This is not responsible use of our revenue. So this is something where we have to wake them up. They're talking about trying to keep our kicker tax return, right? And they're just throwing money away. Like, that's more money that could be given back to the citizens, more money that could be putting into other programs like helping mental health. It could be, suicide prevention, actual suicide prevention, not trying to restrict people's rights, not red flagging people, So give me one second. – 100%. Thank you, Craig. This is a great comment. And this is stuff that I need to know. Like, if there's things that I could do to help this and make this easier for you guys, so we're all on the same page, so we're not confused when it comes to when we're checking that ballot box. You know, maybe we spend time like talking about like things to look at when we're looking for judges. Those are really important. I had no idea how important the judges were. You know, and I think absolutely, Anthony. I hope your family's well. I'll try to, well, next time I'm up there in your area, we'll try to have dinner or something like that, because I'd like to see you guys again. And just, keep your head down, keep working hard, and, thanks for being here. And, so whatever we can do to educate. That's the only way we're going to win this war. This war is a war for information. That's why these infographics are going to be super important. The problem we have is they've morphed. They have a new website. It's the smoking gun, and so they're using information, and it's being cited by Congress. It's being put out in the media, and so they're putting this stuff out like it's the gospel, and it's being picked up on. I've seen law enforcement cite them here in Oregon. Actually, Multnomah County was citing a Moms Demand Action. It was their sheriff's department that was citing a failed study. They cherry pick the numbers, and they very selective about what they want, and they say guns are the most deadly thing to children. It kills more children than anything. They're considering children up to 19 years old. Okay, so they are totally misrepresenting the facts and the data. And you tell the lie enough times, people start to believe it, and that's kind of where we're at. And so I just need you guys to understand. I know many of you guys do, and I know a lot of this stuff I'm preaching to the choir here, and a lot of it I'm just talking about, to talk about, just so it's fresh in our minds. But the thing that I put in here today, this is a great tool that we can use to our advantage. And when I get off of here, since I have two screens, I'm going to set up and I'm going to start. I'm going to do a few just to see how it goes, see how you guys like it, and I'm going to break down. I'm going to, what I'll do is, when I'm doing this, I'll cite the page and the study number in the bottom of this infographics that I'm going to start creating, right? So they cannot discount that, because it's going to be right there. If they want to see it, they can go to the link, they can look at this page, boom, it's going to be there. Okay. We're not lying about this stuff. We don't lie about our facts. We don't lie about our data. We don't lie about our logic. Okay. That's one thing that our side, we stand very, very committed to, and shoulder to shoulder to, is our facts are facts. Okay. You cannot argue with our facts. The problem is, then when they use emotion, people start tuning the facts out. They don't want to talk about facts because the facts are not on their side. That's why they have to use the emotion. And so that's where it's definitely a propaganda war, Craig, 100%. 100%. Yes. And 100%. 100%. Yeah. And if there's people that are good at making memes, we could always, we could make memes with, and I try to keep the memes out of here. Okay. Just because that's kind of the rules. I took over for the group and kind of spearheaded this thing a couple years back. And so that was one of the rules is no memes. And so that's why I keep the memes. I try to. I mean, sometimes a little one comes through, and I always, when I approve it, I always say, I mean, is it okay? Should I do it? Or, and you know what I mean? So I always scrutinize it. You know, if it's a good one, then if it brings some sort of value, then I'll allow it. If it's just a regular meme, I'm gonna cut it. You know, but we have to understand as how people get their information. You know, some people are reading, some people are using video content. Some videos are short video content. You know, memes are really effective. These, you know, I call them a vlog because that's what this is, or similar to like a podcast when I'm doing these live streams with you guys. You know, this is a way for people to learn because they can just put in their earbuds and they can be, you know, they can be working away and just listening to me talk. And if there's stuff that they can listen that makes sense, they could always go back to the video and follow up. And so that's, you know, that's kind of where I'm at is, you know, this is definitely a war of information. And, you know, they are definitely moving at a faster rate because they have the funding to do so. So that's where we have to kind of sharpen up our skills and get better at what we're doing. And that's what I'm trying to do is obviously I'm working on my editing skills, my video skills, my writing skills. I feel really good about my writing skills. So I've come a long way. I've come a very long way. And it's my hope that I can inspire people like you to do that as well. Like everybody has a different perspective. Your perspective might be a little bit different than my perspective, and we might be in the same team. So write it out. What does your perspective look like? And this is what I would challenge you to. Okay. Is your idea, your perspective, is it educational? Does it inform? And is it entertaining? Are those three things? Okay. If you can check the box on those three things on something that you put out, that could be about a valid thing for us as Oregon gun owners, right? So, you know, different perspectives are really important, you know, because I don't want to have all the ideas. I don't have all the ideas. I don't pretend to have all the ideas. I'm just the one here, fortunately, with the microphone and some experience. And, you know, a lot of it's because it's trial by fire. I've learned through the years of me doing what I'm doing. And so I'm glad to have you guys here where you guys can kind of share in this with me. And so, you know, that's kind of where I'm at, you know, and if we can get 100,000 more people just like me that can do what I do, we're going to have an effective fighting force, you know, and we're going to fight, and we're going to fight in a way where we're going to win. Because, you know, our cause is righteous, you know, it is what it is, you know. And so, you know, we just got to understand what we're up against. And a lot of it is generational, right? There's people here that are in the group that obviously from an older, um, God bless you. And you can do it. I believe in you, Anthony, because I know you, I know your circle, because they're in my circle, and we're all in this together. You know, you've got some great mentors, and so like that's how we're going to make this change. And the thing is here, Anthony, you have a beautiful family. Okay, so this is why you do what you're doing, is because you have the strength for this, and your children do not yet. Okay, I'm not saying they won't, but they have to be given the opportunity to have that strength, and they don't have that yet. And that's why it's our job as adults and as parents and as responsible gun owners to hold this line, so our children know what it's like to have any sort of freedom, you know. And that's the way I feel. So, you know, we're all in this together, you know. And so I've learned a lot from you guys. I've learned a lot from turning on these cameras, and I've learned a lot. I've gotten better at what I do. And everything I try to do with you here in this group is I try to be uplifting, give people hope, because I want to have hope myself. And if I don't believe that I have hope, I'm not going to be able to give that to others. And so I've never, ever for once thought that I was out of this fight, because I know what those 27 words mean to me and my founding fathers. And they gave me this gift of freedom if I can keep it. And that's where we got to work together to keep it. And so, you know, that's all I want to do. And I want to inspire. And I have a guy following in my footsteps. That's good. And I hope I lead you in a way that's going to make an impact the way we need it to make an impact. And that's the goal here. And you know, it's not about pats on the back or, you know, anything like that. It's just we got to figure out how we do this together and maneuver, you know, because I'm sick of losing. I'm not going to lose. I know what my founding fathers, I know what they meant when they. Oh, here's a really cool thing. Every time you buy Fortis ammunition, right? They give you a little card with the Second Amendment. Okay, and and so yeah, I something that the Second Amendment's important to me, right? I have it tattooed on my arm, my forearm, and it's something that I believe in, and I'm going to fight for to keep. And I know there's a lot of people that are going to do it just like me. We're all in this together. So let's read this real quick. Um, absolutely, it's all funding. It looks every town, Bloomberg. There's all these new groups that pop up. It seems like almost weekly. There's another. As soon as there's a tragedy, there's a new group that pops up. I saw something, Sandy Hook Promise. They came out. That's where I saw yesterday. That's what it was. It was Sandy Hook Promise. Okay. They were founded after the Sandy Hook tragedy back in 2012. Okay. The guy he's been doing it a long time. He's made a lot of money, and now he's coming for your rifles. And that's been my biggest complaint about all this stuff is the emotional aspect never equates to good policy. Okay. We look at what they did with Measure 114. It is an emotionally written bill that is a bad, flawed bill that will do nothing but make you a criminal. Okay. So every time there's somebody that comes out with legislation that has some sort of tie to some kind of loss, that's bad legislation because you'll never ever have a clean, clear head when you're writing this stuff. You're going to have an agenda. You're going to have a narrative. You're going to have the emotion, and you're going to use that to drown out the voice of reasonable people like us. And because we're reasonable people, at the end of the day, we just want to be left alone. We just want to be able to we want to hunt. We want to fish. We want to go shoot. We want to carry what we want to carry. We want to go buy a 30-round magazine if we want to go buy a 30-round magazine because the other one wore out. We want to go buy a semi-automatic rifle or a handgun that holds 17 rounds. We're not hurting anybody, and so, we're not the problem here. But the problem is, and what I loved about that story I posted the other day about Benitez, where he said that we cannot pass legislation because of a few that's going to affect the masses. And that's obviously, I'm paraphrasing, but that's a really, really important thing that is being lost here is all of us, we are the majority, and it's a slim minority that is a really dangerous. They're very criminal because they're not being prosecuted. And that's what is happening. They're doing this horrible stuff, and you and I are being held accountable for that, and we're not the ones doing the crimes. And so that's where I'm kind of, I try not to get mad about it because I know at the end of the day, we're going to win. But it's maddening because it's offensive. Because I don't know about you, I do everything I can to not put myself in this position, and it's like I don't know. It's a lot. So we'll get through this together. We still got time. Measure 114 still hasn't gone into effect. It's not going to go into effect. There's going to be a court challenge either way. So whether we win or we lose, we're still going to challenge it. It's not going to go into effect. And the only thing that would change is if the TRO is lifted. But I truly believe in my heart that the judge understands how bad this bill is and this law. And I feel this is how I feel. I'm not speaking for the attorneys. This is what, he's a fair man. And I feel that he understands the weight of his decision, and that's why he's going to take his time. And I respect that. I don't need it to be rushed. I don't need it to be right now. I just need it to be right. Okay. Because there's going to be a lot of scrutiny involved because they're going to double down because they're not going to get the ruling that they wanted. So they're going to spend another $1 million or however much of your taxpayer funds to make sure that this charade goes on. And at the end of the day, not a single life has been saved. And it's just an inconvenience is all it is. And just think about all the people that were caught up, all the people that couldn't get a firearm because they had to wait over 30 days to buy a firearm. What are those single mothers or, the people of color that were in, urban environments that needed to be able to buy a firearm, but they couldn't buy a firearm because the background check queue was at 40,000 people. and everybody's panicking to buy a gun before Measure 114 goes into effect, and people weren't able to get their most basic needs met, and that's the need for, basic human need is lawful self-defense. So it's such a mess. So just keep your head up, stay focused, stay positive. All this stuff is going to work out, and I believe in that, and that's why I'm optimistic about it all. So other than that, if there's anything I need to answer, great ideas. Thank you. I appreciate you guys. Yeah. And I hope this helps you guys. I try to do these, when stuff comes to my heart. I do these videos because I don't want to do them every day, because I know people don't want to tune in every day to see me just ramble on, because I don't want to ramble on. But I felt that this one was an important thing to kind of talk about, is this study, and then I'm going to see what I can do with it once I get off here, and just copy and paste and put it in a thing, and make it look pretty, and go from there. And so that's kind of what I'm thinking about. So as we get more information out into the public, we're sharing more information, we're gonna be in a better spot, and that's how we're gonna, that the best thing is, like, when an anti-gun news organization, like, the local media, they puts excuse me, puts out garbage, we could just drop these infographics in there. And we could totally, if it's a well done, image and graphic, we could totally just drop little grenades in there, and then they would have to, other people would see it, and they'd be like, oh, what does that mean? And then there's going to be a link for them to copy and paste it, and then they can go read it for themselves, and then they can say, oh, I've been lied to this whole time, because that's what's happening. And so sounds like I've got a lawnmower outside. So anyways, I'm going to get off here. I appreciate you guys tuning in, and I'll keep you guys posted. If you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, ideas, if you want to help out with this situation, if you want to help spread propaganda like I'm going to be doing, let me know. And when I say propaganda, I mean good propaganda. So we'll probably get fact checked. It'll be great. And so, but it's all part of the deal. So just keep your heads up, and I'll talk to you soon as I have more information. We'll keep you posted, and you guys have a great day, and I'll talk to you soon. Thank you.